friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Fresha and I'm learning how to live a happier, healthier, more creative life. And since you clicked on the video, I'm hoping that you and I can learn how to build the lives that we want together. Alright, so today we are going to do the first favorites video of the year. Since it's been a long time since my last one, I want to do a little bit of a recap on how I like to do favorites videos. I love favorites videos. I watch them from all of my favorite creators. I think it's interesting to see how people spend their hard-earned money, and that interest that I have in the products people buy also extends to other parts of their life, be it the books they read, the music they listen to, the shows they watch. I just like to know what adds color to different people's lives, and so that's how I like to do favorites videos, not just make them product centric, mainly just have them be coverage of what I'm into and what was not just worth my money, but what was worth my time and attention. So let's get into it. So the first thing I have on my list is a podcast, and it's called Eyewitness Beauty, and the hosts are Annie Krabaum and Nick Axelrod. I love them. I've actually been following their work since they were part of the founding creative team at Glossier. Nick Axelrod is a photographer. I think he was kind of responsible for those really iconic, like editorial, high flash, into the gloss, like top shelf interviews that we all know and love. And then I think Annie Krabaum, I know that she was just part of creative and brand. I know she had a lot to do with product development, particularly the original like cult favorite products, I think like Boy Brow. But I think she's a really great brand person, and she's a beauty person whose approach I really like, which is she seems unafraid of experimentation. Makeup seems really fun to her. Like, while she definitely, through a couple episodes on the podcast, you know, she's maybe trying to troubleshoot around like a problem, be it, I don't know, like this is just an example, but like hyperpigmentation or like dry hair. She can take that lens, but also a lot of other times beauty just seems to be really fun for her and a real hobby and interest. Annie is also a co-founder of a skincare brand that I love, I'm going to talk about later in this video, called Soft Services. So she definitely has like pretty crazy beauty chops. They both definitely have their beauty and product chops. So the fact that they have a podcast is really exciting. It is just chock full with recommendations. I also really love podcasts where the hosts are friends who have known each other for a really long time and who have a really fun dynamic. I would say that they you get the sense that they obviously like catch up outside of the podcast. They know each other's lives, and I think that just sets for a really trusting and open context for a beauty podcast. I think in another world or in another beauty podcast, it would be so easy for it to just be driven by the products. And I mean, we know those podcasts, we know those YouTubers where it's just like, hey, buy this is its effect, but it's just like very devoid of context and like where that product fits into a person's life. And I think with Nick and Annie, not only do you get a sense for who they are as people, but you also get a sense for their friendship. And it's almost like when you are talking to your friends and you're like, you know, you're getting a bite to eat, or maybe you're over the phone, and it naturally starts to come up. I have been going on and on to my friends about my hair because I feel like my hair is kind of thinning a little bit, and I think partially that's from stressful event and like a depressive episode I went through a couple months ago. I think that it's normal for hair to shed, but also it's winter in New York. It's my first like full proper New York winter. And so I think this is normal, but I have not been able to stop talking about it to my friends. And then like, they're like, oh, well, I've tried this oil, I take these herbs, I've tried this product. And this podcast very much reads with that type of dynamic, but both of them have come prepared with either products they've tried, products they are testing out, and they also offer commentary on beauty news and pop culture in general. So if you are a beauty person, if you are a podcast person, I highly recommend this. The episodes are usually pretty fast, like 30 or less minutes, and it's just a really easy listen while you're on a walk or, cleaning or whatever. The second thing I'm going to talk about is actually another podcast, and funnily enough, another podcast between two friends. It is called Maintenance Phase. And Maintenance Phase covers food culture, news, diet trends, wellness culture from the lens of like body inclusivity, healthy at every size, like anti-fat phobia. So this podcast is run by Aubrey Gordon and Michael Hobbs, who are an author and columnist and then a journalist, respectively. I just love them. I have gone on my own journey these past few years, really working to recalibrate my relationship to food, my body, health, and like the wellness industry. I grew up around a lot of crunchy granola, wheatgrass shot, smoothies every day. This was all the culture that I grew up in. In a lot of ways, that was really wonderful. I think I learned about nutrition at a young age. I got to appreciate food in a way that was healthy and wholesome. But when I moved to Los Angeles when I was like 17 years old for college, I think that was around the time, so this would have been 2009. I think that was around the time that the wellness and health industries really started to get co-opted by consumerism and capitalism. But like I said, I've been going on a very long journey from that like really idyllic place in my childhood of having like at least a balanced relationship with food to then like entering my late teens and my 20s living in bigger cities where I felt like my relationship with my body and food and health and wellness started to become really corrupted. And I've spent the past couple years trying to work on intuitive eating, not having so much anxiety around food and health. And this podcast Maintenance Phase has been such an important ally in that in regrounding my relationship to food and myself. They have been really essential in giving me a science-backed perspective as I go through what is ultimately for a person like a pretty emotional journey. They do it with a lot of humor. The dynamic between Aubrey and Michael is just so funny and wholesome and endearing. Again, it feels like you're watching two of your funniest, smartest friends. You're eavesdropping in on their conversation, and it's just such a joy to listen to. And the way that they just call out life in this modern age, it's so easy to become myopic. It's so easy to like live in this world where like everyone's drinking warm water with lemon in the morning. Everyone is taking these supplements and these and these and these. Everyone is, the list of influencer approved wellness behaviors is endless. And I think they do a really good job of zooming out and pointing out just how ridiculous so much of it is. It helps bring your perspective out a little bit and ask you to have higher standards when it comes to your information. So just continuing on with this health, wellness topic, another creator who has been really instrumental in helping me recalibrate my relationship to food, my body, and to exercise. Natasha Ocean, who is a YouTube creator, she went to get her PhD, I think at University College London. I don't quite remember the universities she went to or her credentials, but she is really interested in the scientific foundations behind exercise, physiology, diet, exercise. She's had her own experience with disordered eating and really came to healing through it from not just studying it as a discipline in university, but also experimenting with intuitive eating and really eventually folding it into her lifestyle. And so, I mean, she is fucking cut. Like, this girl she is so strong, and her athletic ability is so aspirational to me. Like, I don't really have body goals. I think that's largely unhealthy. But when I say that Natasha is body goals for me, I mean it in the sense of like, she is so fit and healthy. Her athletic ability is aspirational. Like, she is the type of person who, it's like, oh, I want to learn how to do a handstand. And she will slowly over time train herself to do that. And I think, especially as you get older, like you get into your 20s, I always associate that type of athletic ability with being a lot younger when your body is a little bit more pliable and, I don't know, easier to, and recovers more easily. When I think about the type of relationship I want to have with my body and my health, it's one where I feel competent and confident and I can take care of it. And I very much get that vibe from Natasha. I want to be able to set a physical goal for myself and feel confident in my ability to reach it. And I want to find a lot of joy in being strong and being athletic, fast, and all of those things. And so she is like a very good role model for me in terms of a healthy relationship to have with your body and a healthy approach to food and exercise. So the next favorite thing, I'm actually like legit obsessed with this. It is a Substack newsletter and it's called Blackbird Spy Plane. It's written by a couple named Jonah and Aaron. I think Aaron is an industrial designer at Apple and Jonah, I don't quite know what it is he does, but I've gotten the sense that he has worked in fashion for like some pretty big brands in his career. They write about fashion, culture from like kind of a critical lens, but also from like a recommendation lens. And these are like, if you're older couple friends with impeccable taste and like a seemingly impossible level of cool, wrote a newsletter. Like, I don't know how many of you have older friends. I have quite a few who are in their 40s, late 30s, they're dinks, double income, no kids. Like, they just live the coolest fucking lifestyles. Like, they are free, they're like unworried, they're not, a lot of them have just kind of like fallen off the hamster wheel. They have jobs that make them enough money to live their lives and they are unbothered beyond that. But they still have like unbelievable taste. And so Blackbird Spy Plane is that they offer recommendations from clothing, which is mainly their starting point, to home goods, to accessories. They love Japanese gorpcore. They love Shayna Moe and Lauren Manoogian. Like, when I subscribed to this newsletter, I was like, I can unsubscribe to almost everything else. Like, I now have a lifetime's worth of recommendations. But yeah, they just feel, I'm like, who are even other bloggers or like people on the internet? Like, all you need is Blackbird Spy Plane, in my opinion. And they offer just fun takes on like one of my favorite newsletters they wrote. The title was, How Should Pants Fit Today? And it was kind of this like funny existential like breakdown of like how should our pants fit? Like, are they tight? Are they overly baggy? Are they long? Are they cropped so you can see the angle? Like, what is the appropriate pant cut? And it was so, it made me laugh so hard because I was like, the number of times I have asked myself this and just not taking myself seriously, and now like a person on the internet that I respect is committing it to print, and I have never been more here for anything in my life. It does cost money. I think it's like $10 to $14 a month. To me, it's money well spent. I will keep on being a loyal subscriber till the day I die, or until the day they stop, because they probably have so many other better things to do, but go check it out. Okay, so the next product I'm gonna talk about is honestly like kind of annoying because you all have probably heard about it, but if I was being true to myself, I couldn't not include it in this roundup, and it is athletic greens. Great scientific minds and philosophers have been asking themselves for centuries, if one was on the internet and was not served an athletic greens ad, were they ever even on the internet? I guess we'll never know. I've mentioned it before in this video, and I think some other ones. I went through some health issues in these past couple months. I went through like a major depressive episode and had just stopped eating for some time. I had stopped sleeping. As a result, my hair, my skin, everything kind of suffered. And I'm now on the other side of it, trying to just get back into taking care of myself, taking care of like my thinning hair, like my skin, which is having a little bit of a hard time. And athletic greens is a big component of that from a health perspective. Now that I'm on the other side of things, I'm really trying to focus on eating whole nutritional foods, balanced diets. I'm trying to make sure I get enough calories because there was a period of time where I wasn't eating enough calories, and athletic greens just feels like a nice insurance policy for me in terms of making sure I get everything I need to allow my body to heal, to take care of itself. I also think, as I mentioned in previous items, kind of going on this journey of recalibrating my relationship to food and nutrition, a big part of that is making sure that I actually don't think about food too much. Like that I think of it from a place of like fueling myself and enjoying my food. But there had been periods in my 20s where like I would literally have, this was especially when I was vegan and I had to be really mindful about what I was eating. There were periods where like I would have spreadsheets and just making, or I was like using those tracking apps to just make sure I was getting everything. And that's not the type of relationship I want to have to food. I want to eat what feels right to me. And then, over time, provide gentle corrections if I, for instance, am like not getting enough iron or not getting enough protein. But I think that having an easy backup like Athletic Greens allows me to have just a better peace of mind that I'm getting all of these things without having to flip the switch that sometimes leads me to becoming a little bit more obsessive and having a more vigilant relationship with food than I would like. Okay, my next item is silk pillowcases. So I moved to New York almost a year ago. So I got the tail end of winter, but it was kind of like I knew that warmer days were ahead, so I could deal with the cold weather and the dry radiator heat that just envelops my apartment. I was able to deal with all of that much better, knowing that in 4 or 5 weeks it was all gonna go away. This is now my first full New York winter. Listen, I'm a California girl, okay? I spent my whole life in California. I mean, Northern California, you have winter, but it's not like, I don't know, there's something about it that just hits different here. Back to that radiator heat, my skin was looking rough for several months. And I had silk pillowcases when I lived in LA, but they were so like gross by the time I was moving. I was like, you know what? I need to get rid of these and I'll just buy new ones. When I got to New York, I forgot. And also having them in LA, it's just more temperate weather there. I don't know if I would have noticed so much a difference, but here, the air in my apartment being so dry from these radiators, I just needed all the help I could get. I got mine on Quince. I actually really like Quince. They offer a lot of things that I think get like really upcharged from other brands at reasonable prices. And so I first got the champagne color. I didn't love that as much with my bedding. So then I got the olive green cover. And you know what? It's gorgeous. I just gotta tell you, it's freaking gorgeous. So then I got the olive green ones. They look gorgeous. I actually might get another pair just to serve as a backup. But honestly, I feel like my skin, like I said, I'm kind of on a repair healing journey right now with my body. And I think that the silk pillowcases have just made like such a huge difference in the texture of my skin. I wake up, it feels like the product is like still kind of, working its magic. It hasn't been pulled off by like the rough texture of another type of pillowcase. I think I had linen before. And the Quince ones are honestly pretty affordable. I think they're like $40 for one, which, sometimes you go on other brand sites and they're like $100. And they're basically like, listen, I believe in paying more if you're paying for something that's more ethically made or higher quality. But these Quince ones are made in the same factories as other notable brands, same quality, just don't have the same markup. So if you're in the market for silk pillowcases or you kind of just want to take nicer care of your hair and skin, I highly recommend checking them out. So I had mentioned earlier in the video, Annie Krabaum, who is a host of the Eyewitness Beauty podcast, founding creative member of Glossier. Then she went on to found a different beauty brand, which I love, which is what I'm about to talk about next. It is called Soft Services. They do body care. I think if you guys can remember when Glossier first launched, it was really about like skincare first, makeup second. I can't remember what their tagline is. And it really had an emphasis on great skin. Soft Services is basically like the beauty extension of that. And I would probably say it's definitely more premium, like more luxury than Glossier is. Glossier feels, it's expensive, but like, I don't know if I necessarily consider it to be like a premium beauty brand in terms of quality. Soft Services definitely is. So they have what's called a smoothing set, which was the first product I bought from them when they first launched, I don't know, like 2 years ago, which has like a buffing bar, a serum, like a texture serum, and then a body lotion. And I love it. Like, again, in terms of like caring for my dull, tired winter skin, it is a game changer. Listen, there are some times where like I love doing like beauty exploration and I love experimenting with products. And then there are times where you have a product like their smoothing set, I think it's called, and you're just like, I'm just so glad I don't have to look for these products. Like, these are perfect as they are. They're perfect together. I think if someone said like, you have to use this for the rest of your life, I'd be like, done. Like, no love lost here. Beauty experimentation is more fun for me when I know that I have solid holy grail products I can fall back on. Soft Services is one of them. I also recently got their TheraPlush hand treatment. I've wanted for a shit you not over a year, but like they had some stock issues. I wanted this hand cream like when I lived in LA. That's how long. But I just could not. I either would forget to buy it when they were in stock, or when I would check, they'd be out of stock. And it got to a point where legit, like, I think the last time I went on their site, I like had signed up for their text notifications for TheraPlush, because I was like, this has gone too far. Like, this is where is this product? And then at the same time, I was like, well, I'm here. I should like restock my smoothing set. And that was out of stock. And I was like, what am I gonna do when I run out? And so I messaged customer service. I was like, hey, I'm so sorry, but like, when are these things coming back? And they were really nice. They're like, it'll be in stock shortly. Thanks so much for reaching out. Got my new smoothing set. It's probably my third or fourth, honestly. At this point, I got my TheraPlush every single night. 2 little pumps, rub it all over my hands. Look at these. Do these look like the hands of someone who lives in New York during the winter time? I think not. Also, when I first moved to New York, I had like major issues with nail breakage, which I have never dealt with in my life. Like, this sounds like a brag. I mean, like, whatever. But I normally have like pretty thick hair and I have really strong fucking nails. Like, when I go to the salon, my nail technician is like, I don't know if I can cut these. Like, this is too much. And I'm like, honestly, this is why I come here, because I hate doing it myself. When I moved here, my nails got so much thinner and they were way more prone to breakage and splitting. And if there's anything I hate in this world, it is a split nail. Because then it hurts so bad. I have to walk around with band-aids on my fingers. I just feel gross. I will say, I mean, they're thinner than normal, but I have to cover my eyes. They're thinner than normal, but they're looking pretty good for a nail living it's not so best life in New York winter. I'm back. So honestly, dude, like, their stuff is definitely pricey, sure, and I will never live without it. All right, next thing that I love. The thing about me, I fucking love Outkast. I love Andre 3000. I love Big Boy. I grew up on their albums. Aquemini, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. They can like do no wrong to me. They are like the gold standard. And so when I heard that Andre 3000 was coming out with another album, I was like, hold the phone. Stop what you're doing. And then when they said that it was a jazz album that played with wind instruments, I was like, I'm taking a day off work. I didn't, but even though this album came out later in the year, I fully expected this album to show up on my Spotify Unwrapped. I actually think maybe one of the songs did, but I listened to it over and over and over every single day. Like, it just became the soundtrack music to my life. Even if I wasn't paying attention to it during the day, I would end my workday, close my computer, and then just like lay on my couch and listen to it. It's fantastic. I love it. He can do no wrong. Now, I understand this might not be everyone's cup of tea. Fine. But if I was gonna be true to myself, I couldn't not list it. It's like probably my most listened to album of the year. That and SOS by SZA, obviously. Okay, next, we got a book, baby. I forgot who recommended this to me. Oh my God. My friend, Sarah. She had read this and then she was like, I highly recommend you read it. I cried. Like, it's so good. It's so well written. It is a book called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. It follows a therapist as she is beginning her practice, or I can't remember, but also as she is in the process of finding, locating, and developing a relationship with her own therapist, like a therapist-client relationship, and so you get a peek into the life of a therapist, the stories and lives of her patients, but also her relationship to them, the way they impact her. I think a lot of times we think about how therapists impact us, but clients also have an impact on their therapists. And then this is also mirrored in her relationship with her therapist. It's just a beautiful, like, human story about something that can feel, clinical for some people, that can be really tough for some people, being in a therapeutic practice. And I don't know, it was just it felt like a celebration of like the different types of humanity and the realization that like it's far less important to be right than it is to just be growing. And there are characters in this book where you meet them and you like, at least I didn't really like them. Like, I didn't really care for them. But as the story goes on, it's never apologizing for their behaviors, but it's just rooting it in this context of being human. And being human means that we make mistakes, that sometimes do things that hurt other people. We get in our own way. And the way that this story is told is just unjudging, but it's also not over-romanticizing. It's just, I think, what therapy should be, which is like a really neutral place to hold space for people to be themselves and to grow into the next version of themselves. And so whether or not you're unfamiliar with therapy and you want to see a more like humanistic account of it, or if you're familiar with therapy and you just want to go outside of your own lived experience to see it from another perspective, I think this is a really beautiful book. I think it was one of the best books that I read last year, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so also on the therapy kick, but like so totally absolutely on the other end of the spectrum, is my final favorite recommendation. It is the Say More podcast with Dr. Sheila. And this is, like I said, on the total opposite end of the spectrum, because it is a satirical take or a spoof on therapy. Amy Poehler plays a therapist named Dr. Sheila, and the reason why you have to say it that way is because there's a question mark after doctor, because they have to, for liability reasons, put it there because her credentials are more than questionable. And so she is a couples therapist. It kind of is done in the vein of like an Esther Perel. Dude, it's just like, I would actually pair these together. I feel like they're a great counterbalance to each other. One is like warm and universal and humanistic and touching, and one is just like so uncomfortable and is so acute and so dry. Amy Poehler plays a couples therapist, and I think it's maybe 10, 11, 12 episodes. Her clients come in with a range of issues, be it like suspected infidelity, general bickering, the role of our parents or our in-laws in our relationships, and the clients themselves are other comedians. And each episode is totally improvised. So I think every comedian gets their brief on who their character is, but like none of this is scripted. The episode is just unfolding as you listen to it. And it's truly, I mean, it's like one of the best podcasts I've listened to in a long time. The number of times I just threw my head back and laughed, like deep belly laughed, at either Amy Poehler's character, Dr. Sheila, or like the dynamic between her and the clients or whatever. It's just so well done. If you like a funny podcast, if you like Amy Poehler, please go listen to it. It is so funny and well worth the time. Each episode is like 20 minutes, so it's very fast. All right, so that is all we have for January favorites this time around. I hope you found this helpful. I hope there's something in here that you might want to try. If you do, let me know below in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one.